Also, hello everyone. My name is Andra and I welcome you to my new podcast episode. This time I have the honor to talk to Cristina DiGiacomo, and she's known as the modern philosopher, the author of the Amazon bestseller The Wise Up at Work, and the founder of MorAlchemy. Is that right?
Yeah, you got it. You
Okay.
got my last name too. Most people don't get my last name, but you got it.
I'm very glad. I looked it up at LinkedIn, so I prepared a little bit. And I want to say welcome, Cristina, to my new podcast episode. I'm so happy glad to talk to you today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here and to be in conversation with you. So yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you.
I'm very happy to talk to you today. And the first thing I want to ask you is, what is an industrial philosophy? I've read it on your LinkedIn page, and I was so curious to find out more things about it.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to explain. So first, industrial philosophy is a category I created. And the reason why I created it was I was very interested in doing work at the intersection of organizational change, employee engagement, and philosophy. And so, I've spent close to 10 years studying and practicing philosophy, and I had a 20-year career in corporate. So I have a lot of experience in what it's like, to actually work. And then I also have a degree in organizational change. And so at some point in my career, I really wanted to do work that was based in applying philosophy, but applying it for the workplace. And I realized that I needed some way to describe it. And this idea of industrial philosophy came up, which has been just my way of starting a conversation around how philosophy can apply to some of the challenges that leaders, employees, entrepreneurs, face when they're going about their work, going about their day. So, industrial philosophy, the general description of it is applying philosophical principles for the benefit of the individual and leadership in the workplace.
Wow, that's really great. I remember philosophy from my Latin lessons from school, and I found that connection so interesting, and I just wanted to put that at the very first question. But let's start with your story. How did you get into your current job, and maybe to know how did you start at the very beginning of your career?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really started 10 years ago. As I had mentioned, I had this, career in the advertising and marketing industry, which, most people have the correct perception that it is a very intense industry. And so I worked in a lot of fast-paced environments, where, there were a lot of really big decisions being made, but the stakes were really high and the pressure was really high. And at some point, I was actually really struggling in these environments, as many people do in a lot of intense environments. So what I was experiencing was nothing new, feeling anxious, wondering where my career was going, wondering if I was doing the right kind of work. And so I was going through a period of struggle. At the same time, I really wanted to do something for myself, right? My whole life felt like I was getting up in the morning, worrying about my to-do list, going to work, being in back-to-back meetings, coming home, shoving some food in my face, watching TV and going to bed, and then wake up and do the whole thing over again. And I started to just feel like this can't be this can't be my life. Like there's got to be more to this. So I decided to start taking philosophy classes at night. And I really started to enjoy it. It was just a hobby. It was just a personal pursuit. And then what started to happen was I was applying what I was learning in my philosophy classes to the problems that I was having at work. So it was kind of like, what would Socrates say about this, problematic relationship I have with my boss? And I started to see things change. My perspective started changing. I started to behave differently. I started to look at things more clearly. And I started to feel better about work. And over time, as my study and my practice deepened, the experiences that I had in my work also intensified. And so I had more problems to solve, and I was solving them through the lessons that I was learning in philosophy. And then at some point, I also started to experience some success. So I started to have better ideas. I was starting to institute changes in the workplaces that I was in. And so it wasn't just about coping. Then it was about elevating my experience and the contribution that I had in my jobs. And at some point, I wanted to get out of the advertising and marketing field. I knew it wasn't for me. And I realized and felt a deep calling around a vocation that is founded in philosophy. And so a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, I decided to go out on my own and start my own practice. And I cared very much about people's experiences at work, whether you're a leader or an employee. I still had this desire to influence and create great workplaces. And then I realized, well, I've used philosophy to have a better experience myself. I could teach this to other people. And so that's how I founded MorAlchemy, which is an advising firm where I work with business leaders who are experiencing big questions and challenges in their businesses, and I teach philosophy as a way for them to experience a better set of decisions, better influence with their employees, and create great workplaces, and just teaching philosophy in order to achieve that. So really, it was just closing the chapter on my corporate career and going all in on this passion that I had around philosophy.
Oh, that's great. But do you also apply those principles to private life or just to business job questions?
That's such a great question. I actually, I'm going to say this. I actually pride myself on leading a philosophical life. I actually do. I'm very thoughtful about my thoughts. I'm always questioning, what is the right way to go about something. I, have several practices, that I apply in my own life to better my relationships, to even better help me be a better entrepreneur and make better decisions for my own business. And I do still very much, I still take classes and I still study every day. Mm-hmm. So I get to spend my days with a bunch of dead people and their great ideas. So, I really do lead a philosophical life.
Well, when they are great inspiration, that's really useful to spend life with them. Okay, the next question I want to put you. You said you're studying still a lot in the philosophical area. Are there still areas you want to explore in the connection with philosophy, something you want to specialize in, or what's your area of interest?
So that's such a great question. I am still discovering new things with even philosophers that I've studied from 10 years ago. I'm still discovering new things. And, in terms of the philosophers that I choose, I choose, like, I'll just give you a range of who I really like. So I'm a fan of Plato. I'm a fan of the ancient Greeks, right? So Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. But I'm also a fan of Italian Renaissance philosopher Marsilio Ficino. I'm also a fan of Sebastian Gracian, Nietzsche, Emerson. I tend to gravitate towards philosophers that really wanted us to engage with their ideas, that were maybe a little bit radical for their time. And the reason for that is because I know that they weren't doing what they were doing for any other reason than to help us lead better lives. The philosophers that I tend to gravitate towards aren't highly theoretical. They really rolled up their sleeves and wanted to help us in practical ways with philosophy. The area, though, that I want to gravitate more towards at some point has to do with the impact of technology on our work and on our lives. And so, one of the things that I'm keen on at some point is exploring areas around social media, around AI, around the technological influences on our minds and in our lives. So that's an area that's still like a North Star for me. But believe me, I have my hands full with just, the traditional, well-known philosophers. Part of it too is just getting people to understand how useful philosophy is another reason why I gravitate towards philosophers that maybe people have heard about. So it just helps in that conversation.
Okay, and are you also doing some teaching on philosophy to transmit your ideas to people who don't know that much about that area but might be interesting to learn more?
Yeah, actually, I host masterminds all the time. So I'll, get a cohort of people and we'll read, Emerson's essay on self-reliance, and we'll talk about the themes in that essay and how they apply in work. Or, I'll do a particular theme around truth and seeing truth at work and what that means and how you can apply having a better knowledge of what the truth and reality is. So yeah, I absolutely do teach classes for business people and help them make it practical for their everyday.
That's so cool. Thanks for sharing these ideas with us. Okay, then the next question I want to ask you is, what recommendation do you have for someone who wants to step into your footsteps and to learn more about philosophy and the application of philosophy in business, in private life, and so on?
So, well, I'm trying not to toot my own horn, but the book that I wrote, Wise Up at Work, is really an excellent primer on how to use philosophy. And it's written for people specifically who may not have a background in philosophy, so it's a really easy read. But I bring in lots of really great quotes and practices and ways people can apply philosophy in their work. And you'll also read about CEOs and leaders who used these ideas in their work with me and their experiences, like them actually sharing their experiences and what they observed in the book. So I recommend that. I also recommend, there's a couple of really great schools. There's Adrian Botan's School of Life, and then there's the School of Practical Philosophy. So, there's some really great intro courses with those schools that people can engage with to give them a good idea. And if you want to get a little nerdy, I highly recommend Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, okay, and Epictetus's Enchiridion, and James Allen's As a Man Thinketh. Okay. To me, those are 3 original texts that are very accessible and inspiring, mm-hmm, as a way to just start to, dip into philosophy if you want to read original texts. So those are just a few ideas.
That's really a good starting point, I guess, to get a taste on what philosophy is and how to apply those principles in your life. Okay, but you also said about the book you've written, the Wise Up book. I wanted to ask you how you've managed to write an Amazon best-selling book. Do you have some tips to share with us?
So it's just starting, I think, was the most challenging thing. I had the idea for the book for a long time, and eventually the idea got so noisy, it was just never going away, that finally I was just so tired of hearing myself talk about this book to myself, that finally I was like, okay, I just have to write it. And start with a good outline. Just start with a good outline. That, to me, if you want a tip about writing a book, the outline is the most important piece. And then the rest sort of writes itself if you stick with it. I was lucky enough to be taught a book writing process by someone by the name of Ben Joya. And I was able to write the book in a fairly short period of time. But it was a really wonderful experience. And also, I think, really be definitive on what you want to say, and look at it as a contribution to the world, mm-hmm, and how you want to contribute to the world, and not necessarily about how many books you want to sell. Like, I didn't think about outcomes, right? I didn't look at it as like, how many books am I going to sell, or how many things can I get from this book? It was more along the intention, and what did I hope to convey and help people with.
Okay, yeah, that's really important to look at the value you can bring up to people and how to help them. Okay, but what do you think is your unique ability you have that has helped you to become successful?
My unique ability, interesting. It's so hard to talk about myself, Andra, with these wonderful questions.
It's always difficult.
So for me, I think my ability is my passion. Mm-hmm. I think that could be an ability, right? Do you think passion could be an ability? Because I really believe that philosophy can help, mm-hmm, in a lot of ways. Like, this is a core belief of mine, that being a wise person just makes life better. And so my passion helps me to be able to read these ideas and embody them, practice them, and then translate them in such a way that's easy for people to engage with. Sometimes I just look at myself as just a little bit of a messenger. I am just able to help people engage with these really fundamental ideas in a new and fresh way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that really just comes from this passion that I have around philosophy.
Okay, that's really nice that you found your vocation in life and your line and your direction. Very inspiring for people. Okay, is there something I forgot to ask you about you want to share with us? Maybe your future goals. What do you want to achieve in future with philosophy?
So I would love to start an academy.
Oh.
So, and by the way, this is like the first time I'm even publicly talking about this. You, Andra, are a great interviewer, getting me to say things that I don't really talk about. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to start an academy. Plato had an academy. Aristotle had an academy. Ficino had an academy. Why can't I start an academy? And I think what I'd love to do is start like something like a philosopher CEO academy, right? And have classes for business people on how they can be more philosophical in their work. And I have no idea how to pull this off. I don't know like how to even begin, but I just really envision a place for learning and knowledge and wisdom, and being able to create that for people would be something I would love to do.
Wow, thanks for sharing the idea with us people, and we are very glad to hear more about this in future and to see how everything works out. It's very inspiring for me. Is there a place where people can now connect with you and find out more information about you, your activity, something like social media or email or website?
Sure. Yeah, I think the easiest way for people to get to know more about me and check out my stuff is just to go to my website. Mm-hmm. So my website is CristinaDiGiacomo.com. It's CristinaDiGiacomo.com. I know that's a lot of letters, but yeah, just my first name, my last name.com. And if you go, you can sign up to get a free excerpt of my book. And then I also have, you get signed up for my monthly newsletter. So it's called Wise Up Monthly. And I just send you an email once a month about, with some quotes and ideas and, lots of fun philosophical things. And so you can sign up for, and that's really the best place. I'm also on LinkedIn. I would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I post sometimes on LinkedIn. And you'll also get more information about my podcast, Wise Up with Cristina.
Oh, okay.
So you can see all the episodes on my website as well. So yeah, just go to my website. I think that's the best place to send people.
If you want to send me the links, I can add that in the podcast description, and that's easier.
Okay. Yes, it would probably be easier. I'm so sorry if anyone's sitting there like, see, I'm writing on a Post-it note like all the letters in my website name.
No problem.
But yeah, I'll get you the links. No problem.
Okay, those were my questions. I want to say thank you for the discussion today. It was so insightful for me, and I guess also for my audience. I've learned so many things, and I've traveled to another world, to an ancient world today, and I really enjoyed it. I hope it was a nice discussion also for you.
And it was. I loved your questions. You see, I love it. See, I love good questions. Not that there are any bad questions, but you asked really good questions, and it was wonderful to be in conversation with you.
Thank you so much for spending the time today with me, and I hope to hear many news from you and in future to discover a lot of things, interesting things on philosophy.
Thank you, Andra.
And good luck with your academy.
Oh, I'll keep you posted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.